And now, ladies and gentlemen, let us take a breath, relax, and ponder what our government is all about. Pork, 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 pork. Pork, pork, pork. Pork, 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 and of course, pork. Seeking to not insult our porcine friends and perhaps change it to political pinheads perpetrating prodigious, precarious pretenses on every single taxpayer. And we're not about to let them get away with it. But there is a history here. It's the latest report out from Citizens Against Government Waste, all about pork and the history there. And here for what you need to know about it is the Vice President for Policy and Communications at CAGW, Leslie Paige. Leslie, here we gather. We do not want to make too much insult of our porcine friends because really they're kind of nice, actually. They're good animals here. But this all about pork, I mean, this goes back into the history of earmarks. People think that this is just something that's been going on here for 10, 20, 30 years. But you guys are basically reminding people that this has gone on for generations here. This is embedded in our society.
We've been at it in a big way since the 80s, but keep in mind that the big argument that, for example, Harry Reid has made is that this is part of our DNA. It's our history. Our founders were involved with this. Well,
that's
that
ridiculous.
Is actually not the case.
That's an insult to the American taxpayer.
It's absurd. Both Madison, Monroe, both of them actually opposed certain, when they were presidents, they vetoed certain bills because they had some pork in them. And Jefferson came out front and center and said, and by the way, I thought it was interesting that he was discussing postal roads, because so we were still talking about road pork even back then. But he said basically this whole process is productive of evil, and you know, this will just set off a mad eternal scramble, and those who behave the meanest will get the most. And it has come to pass. So this is not historically the way we've done business. It really took off in the 80s, and unfortunately took off even more under the Republican takeover in the 1990s, and has now been tamped down, but only we'll see. It's always threatening to come back.
Well, the thing that always catches me about earmarks is, and there's two words here that are in your report that talk about it. Earmarks breed corruption. This is something basically, this is like a petri dish, if you will, of corruption. We can see it, so why can't we stop it?
Well, for the very reason that people want it. I mean, members of Congress, this is a very bipartisan proclivity, if you want to stick with your P's today.
Please do.
It's a very bipartisan problem, and even in the most recent past, when we've had the moratorium for the last 6 fiscal years, we've had members on both sides of the aisle. I mean, Dick Durbin, Harry Reid, we've also had Don Young, we've had Senator Inhofe of Oklahoma, a Republican, we've had Mike Rogers, a Republican in the House, all of them agitating to bring back this practice of porking up these appropriations bills. So we have to be eternally vigilant. But don't let anyone tell you this is the way we've done business. It's not. It's a relatively recent phenomenon. And what makes it corruptive is its lack of transparency. It's the lack of accountability. And the fact that it's basically a pay-to-play scheme that can lead to some very nefarious doings if you're not watching. And of course, no one does watch it because it's kind of on the QT. It's sort of behind the scenes.
So when we know Congress does this, we know it's there, we know they're wasting it, and here's your numbers here. Let's see, more than $10 billion since 2011. The taxpayers looking at this said, all right, Leslie, thank you, Ed. We appreciate you telling us this. But then how do we stop it? Is there anything we can do? Because I got to tell you, the taxpayers got to feel like they're handcuffed.
Oh, there's plenty they can do. First of all, keep in mind that at its apex in, I believe it was 2005, it was $29 billion. That was its absolute height. And that was when people started to go to jail. Duke Cunningham in California ended up going to jail in a bribery scheme that involved giving earmarks to his cronies in California. So this is not the Jack Abramoff scandal, speaking of scandals, was predicated on on pork and earmarks, trading hands in exchange for preferential treatment and that sort of thing. That's what you have to worry about. We have a moratorium in place. That $10 billion number that you hear, that's been over the last fiscal 6 years. And that includes 366 items. Now, keep in mind, that's a very tamped down number vis-a-vis the height that we had at $29 billion. But the fact of the matter is that moratorium should be kept in place, and it should become permanent. Senator Claire McCaskill, Senator Pat Toomey, that's a bipartisan collaboration there. They have had, every year they've been introducing bills to make the earmark moratorium a permanent fixture of the budget process. And that bill has died in committee every year. So you know, if taxpayers really want to get involved, and they should call their member of Congress and say, I want you to make that earmark moratorium permanent. Speaking of P's, permanent.
I'm not really sure that it will get done because Once you're kind of like wallowing in there in the mess, you kind of like to do it. The only thing I can say, though, Leslie, is we're going to have to work on this. Pigs are actually very clean animals. We need to come up with something else.
They are.
I would probably
let's not insult the pigs.
I would probably think bovine excrement might be a good way to go ahead and put it at this point. Think about that for a moment.
I know, it does lend itself to hyperbole.
See, and that's the best part about it, and it doesn't insult the pigs in any way. By the way, I want to remind everybody, read the report, watch it, demand politicians stop giving pigs a bad name and get your money back. Go to CAGW.org. It's Citizens Against Government Waste. They're nonprofit. Leslie's nice enough to be here. I know you're going to be away for a couple of weeks, so let me wish you and your family a very happy Thanksgiving holiday, and I look forward to seeing you when you get back.
Well, and the same to you, and thank God it'll be turkey, not
there you
pork,
go. And
for the most
let's
part.
not go after turkeys either. Thanks so much, Leslie. Stay with us. The Hard Line continues.